So welcome. My name's Anne O'Gorman. I work in Creative Schools. This is my colleague Rebecca Lamb. We work together in the program. And this session is intended to, I suppose, give you an overview of the program and support you with the application process and some of the common questions that come up across the application process. If you've got questions, raise your hand and we'll come to them at the end, or pop your questions in the chat and we'll come across them at the end. Rebecca will kind of pop any links and things that we use into the chat as well. So to start off, I'm going to share my screen with you and show you a short video about Creative Schools that just kind of explains the program a little bit more dynamically than I might do in person. Okay.
Creative Schools is a 2-year programme open to all primary and post-primary schools and youth-reach settings in Ireland. Each participating school or setting is matched with a trained creative associate who guides and supports staff, students, learners and parents and helps find ways for children and young people to be at the very centre of Creative Schools. There are 3 main phases in the journey of a creative school. Understand and explore creativity, develop your Creative Schools plan, and implement your Creative Schools plan. In Phase 1, each school community explores what arts and creativity means to them. Schools and settings choose to do this in many different ways. They might explore what students understand about creativity in workshops and events. They could uncover the creative interests of their school or setting through surveys or ballots. Maybe they will discuss how to enhance creativity in learning and teaching, or they might establish a creative committee to lead their journey. In Phase 2, schools or settings develop their own unique Creative Schools plan, which sets out their vision for creativity. It outlines the activities that will take place. The plan includes links and connections to creative people and outside organisations who can help. The final phase is when all those creative ideas, opportunities and connections are up and running. Each Creative Schools plan is a living document unique to each school. It can go on to be a guide long after participation in Creative Schools has finished. The 2-year Creative Schools journey is a way to put arts and creativity at the heart of young people's lives. Why not join the journey?
Okay, so for anyone who's just joined us, we'll pop the link to that little video in the chat and you can catch up on it in a couple of minutes or towards the end of the session if you'd like to do that. So as the kind of short video showed us, Creative Schools is a 2-year program. The kind of 3 main supports in the program are a creative associate who's attached to the school for 2 years, for nine kind of days across each of the school years of the 2-year program, and a €4,000 grant, and an additional kind of training and support is made available as well. So just to say to you ahead of making the application, it's very much a kind of a 2-year process. It's not a kind of a once-off project. And so ahead of making your application, don't be worried that you don't have a clear idea what it is you'd like to do, or you don't have a kind of a vision for a project, because the program is very much intended to provide you with the supports to do that together with the creative associate, with your school community, your colleagues and staff members, and the children and young people who are in your setting. So don't worry if you don't have a kind of a clear idea yet. The kind of the program itself and the kind of I suppose participating in it for 2 years allows plenty of time for that. We'll match you with the CA, with the creative associate for your school, so you don't need to worry about that either. And we'll talk a little bit more about their background and experience in a little while. So the program, the application form itself, it's straightforward enough, and it has 3 main areas that your application will be assessed on. So the first is the benefits for learning and development. And this is for you to have a place to kind of talk about what you're already doing creatively in the school, if you are, and if you aren't doing anything, if it's an entirely new kind of endeavor for you, that's totally fine as well. For you to talk about what it is you already do, where you'd like to start from, and where you'd like to go from there. So, how you see this benefiting the school, how you see it fitting in with what you already do, and how you see that kind of progressing over the 2 years. It might be that you want to kind of you're developing a well-being program, and you think this might knit through it really well, or you're developing the kind of the arts, you're redeveloping what the kind of arts curriculum is going to look like, particularly in your school, and it might fit within this, or indeed it might be that you feel like this could fit really well with what you're doing in terms of physical activity. So you just start thinking about how it's going to kind of knit with what you're already doing, so that you're not in your very, very busy place, very, very busy school, thinking about how you can add one more thing. So just how it'll kind of benefit the school, and how it'll benefit kind of learning and development happening. And the second section then is about your capacity for participation. And that again is thinking about, it's not having a developed plan. It's not thinking, kind of having to come with an idea that's already very kind of developed. It's thinking about how you can make space for this program to happen. It's very much a partnership program between the creative associate and ourselves, between the school itself, the staff, the management, the kind of school community, and the children and young people that you work with. So it's about kind of finding the space for that to happen. So that might be thinking about things like how the creative associate might be able to work with your whole staff during a staff meeting or something, how the school coordinator, who's the person who'll be kind of designated as the contact point in your school, how that person will be supported to have some space available to meet the creative associate, to have some kind of time to meet them, and how they'll be supported by management to participate in the program. So it's really thinking about how you can make the space to support it to happen, because again, we appreciate how busy schools are, and the thinking through in advance how you might kind of just support it to happen before it's up and running really, I suppose, embeds it to go well. And the third area that the application is assessed on is voice of the children and young people. The programme, as I said, is very much a partnership between the creative associate, the school community, and the children and young people who take part. Their active participation in decision making is a really, really important part of the programme that we support very much. Again, don't worry, because that is part of the training that we offer to school coordinators. It's an area that creative associates are very, very skilled in. But again, that part of the application is giving you space to think about what you already do in relation to youth voice, what you'd like to do differently, how you'll make space for that, and how you'd like to try new things. So it's not kind of assessing what you already do or anything like that. It's thinking about, it's giving you a chance to talk about what it is you'd like to do differently, what it is you'd like to try, and how you'll make space for that. And then the fourth section of the application is a piece that we score internally, and that is around making sure that the programme is as fairly as possible spread across the country and across primary schools, secondary schools, special settings, and youth reach settings. So that's a piece that's scored internally, and that's again about just trying to make sure it's as fairly spread as possible. So those are the kind of main, they're the three main sections of the application, that you'll be kind of developing over the coming weeks. I'm going to share my screen again now and show you how you would upload that once it's done. So you might be familiar with this. There's a kind of a section on the Arts Council website that has, it asks for your ARN and a password. So if you haven't already done that, you click the kind of request a password button, and an email goes to the Arts Council, and you'll be sent back an ARN. That's your kind of unique number for putting an application through to the programme. We absolutely realise that this can be a little formal a system for schools to put applications through on, but we're trying to make it as kind of user friendly as possible with these online clinics. So once you've put your ARN and your password in, you'll come to this screen. So I've got a couple of applications here already because we've been doing these sessions, and we've been kind of uploading our kind of dummy applications or example applications. So you'll click this button, make an application. And then it will check the details that it has on file for you. So our details here obviously are that we're in Creative Schools and we're in Merrion Square. And then it'll ask for a main contact for the application. This is my colleague, Natalie. If maybe you applied before, or it's a colleague that's gone on leave, or they've moved or anything like this, you can create a new contact, and you can get it reset to yourself. And then we click on next. Oh, so see, this is good to show you because you can't go on until you've confirmed all of the boxes on each page that it's looking for. So I need to confirm that Natalie is our main contact here. And then it will ask you to choose your funding program. So when you get this, it could be that you'll have a really long list of all of the schemes that are open in the Arts Council at the moment. And you're going to choose Creative Schools 2025. And it'll ask you, are you primary or post-primary? We're going to put in a primary application today. And then it'll ask you for your reference. So you can come out of this application and go back into it as many times as you want before the 8th of May. So you need to name your application something while it's in draft. So we're going to call ours Info Clinic application. And then it very helpfully or anxiety forming, whatever way you want to look at it, tells you that you've 29 days remaining and that the scheme is going to close on the 8th of May at 5:30. And then the next thing that you'll do is download the application form. And then you do the next piece offline. Okay, so that'll be where you'll fill in the school's contact details and those 3 main sections that we've just been talking about here. You can do that offline, and then you save it on your desktop and you come back to it. And then at any point you can save draft and go off and do something else and come back to it when you are ready to finish it. So let's say we're ready to start uploading. And there's also really important guidelines here. The guidelines are really, really clear in terms of helping you, I suppose, kind of complete the application form as clearly as possible. Because as I said, the system can, it's very particular in terms of the application has to come in the format that it likes, etc. So the guidelines just show you how to do that and kind of troubleshoot it a little bit. So you're going to press next. And then you will put €4,000 in here because it's a €4,000 scheme. And then if you've got additional money you want to put towards it, that's fine. But we're putting €4,000 in here as our income because that's what we're going to have to spend when we get the grant. And then our total expenditure will be €4,000. And then we're feeling lucky. We're going to keep going and complete our application form today. So the next piece then is the system wants to pull your application form from wherever it is you're storing it on your computer. So we pick choose file. And I have mine here, Creative Schools app. And then it starts to upload here. And then this is the bit I sometimes forget. You have to kind of continue, even though it's showing you that the application is there, you click upload. Sometimes what can happen is that little pink box will come up and it'll tell you can't load your application. It'll usually tell you the reason why. It'll be something like you've left a section blank, or there's grey boxes. You'll see it when you're looking at the application form. There's grey boxes in it, and you need to write in those, and you need to save it as in the format that is outlined on the guidelines, which is a document. So if there's kind of things that the application that the system is seeing that it kind of doesn't like, it'll tell you in that little pink box there, and it'll usually be clear about what you can do to go back and fix it. The reason it needs to be in a format that the system understands is that it pulls the information from those grey boxes so it can read them. So if it can't read them, it can't assess the application as complete, so that we can then get it and assess it. Up here, because this is the system that we use across all of the Arts Council and lots of different application schemes, lots of different funding schemes, it says upload supporting material here. This is for other schemes where you might need to upload budgets, or you might need to upload strategic plans or things like that, or promotional material going with your beautiful touring dance show or something like this. But there isn't anything that you need to upload additional to the application form. So you don't need to complete this. You go next, and then it will show you all of these kind of details, just kind of confirming all the details about what you've written in, that you are applying for creative schools, the amount you're requesting, that your application is uploaded. Now, this is, don't worry about this. So it'll say, again, because it's a organization-wide application system, it'll say you've not uploaded any supporting documents. This may result in your application being rejected. That doesn't apply to creative schools because we only ask you for one application form and we don't ask you for any supporting material. So while it might feel like you're going against the grain to ignore that advice, don't worry that it's telling you to upload supporting documents. And then you are agreeing that the guidance notes, that you've read the guidance notes, that the information is correct to the best of your knowledge, and that the profile details are up to date. So that then hopefully when we're contacting you with good news in June, we have the most up to date details on file. And then you'll press submit. And then you get this little congratulations message that you've successfully submitted your application, and you'll get an email that says the same. Okay, so now I am going to finish sharing here. Okay, so in terms of my kind of major guidance then around the application forms, it's right, don't change any of the formatting in the application. And that's, as I said, because the system is looking for particular things when it kind of scans it, and write in the grey boxes that are provided for it. So don't reformat it, and save it in the format that it wants you to save it in. And all of that is in the guidelines. So we will hopefully, the closing date is the 8th of May. We hope to notify people before the end of the school year, before school breaks, before the end of the primary school year, before schools break up at the end of June. There was something else I wanted to say to you about that. Oh yeah, and what I wanted to say to you was, while the closing date is the 8th of May, and that allows you kind of loads of times to go back in and out of your application to make sure that it's correct. The kind of volume of applications coming in does increase towards the 8th of May. So between now and the 8th of May, we have time to kind of go in and look at applications and check if, kind of things have gone wrong, or it's in the wrong format or anything like that. We have some time to get back to people and say, there was an issue with this. Do you want to tweak it? Do you want to fix it? And that means that if there's anything wrong, we have time to kind of flag it for you before the closing date. That gets a little tougher for us to do the nearer we get to the 8th of May. So I suppose the earlier your application comes in, the more time we'll have to kind of flag if anything is wrong. But hopefully all of everybody's applications will be really straightforward. And then the next thing that happens, hopefully after you get good news in June, is that we will match you with a creative associate in August, September, and you'll be invited to school coordinator training, which will be happening in a couple of venues around the country in September into October, and there's substitution cover available for that training. And then you begin working with your creative associate. You take a couple of months for the first phase of the program, as we showed in the video, to kind of look at what we're already doing in the school, what we enjoy, to do kind of consultations with children and young people and with staff and with the school community, and to start figuring out a plan together. So it's very much a process, and part of the 2 years allows you to have that time together to work things out. So don't panic that you haven't got an idea in mind now. It's kind of better that you don't, because you'll be very open to kind of working together in partnership. So if you kind of have any, I suppose our kind of final advice is, if you need any help with the application, feel free to contact us. As I said, we'll kind of be in a position while things are quieter to check things on applications and kind of get back in touch with people. That gets a little tougher towards the 8th of May. to kind of, I suppose, tell you that in terms of the program, people get out of it what they put into it. That if you're open to kind of new ways of working with your creative associate and working in partnership, people tend to get an awful lot out of that process, and to kind of trust it, to not, I suppose, worry that it's that you can't kind of form a picture of what it's looking like, or you can't see what the 2 year plan is going to look like very early on in the journey. It kind of identify how you can make space for it, and how you kind of how you can make space for that relationship with the creative associate to work and to allow that unfold. It's I suppose really clear to us over the years the program's been in operation that where there's that good working relationship between creative associate and school coordinator, the program goes really well. And while it's it's not an intention of the program, it seems very clear that creative associates and school coordinators stay in touch with each other afterwards. That they kind of want to stay in touch, that the kind of relationship in most cases goes very well. People sometimes have a question about the art form of the creative associate, that you kind of, well, we're very interested in music in our school, and the creative associate is a visual artist. We were hoping we'd get a musician or something like that. So while all the creative associates are have a kind of a primary art form that they work in and that their practice is in, the piece that they are incredibly skilled at, that's relevant to creative schools, is activating, facilitating that kind of consultation with the school, putting you in touch with other agencies, with other organisations that the school might like to work with, figuring out where the strengths are, figuring out where the opportunities are. So that is kind of not attached to a particular art form. So they might be the person who kind of knows they're just exactly the right kind of musician who's right for your school, even though they're not a musician themselves. So don't worry that their art form doesn't match what you hoped you'd be doing, or that it means you'll only be working in that art form. Their skill set is much broader than that, and the piece that they're really skilled at, as I said, is that kind of facilitating the journey with all of the partners. And we will match you with your creative associate, so you don't need to figure any of that out either. And a lot of those skills around how the consultations will work, and those kind of things, they bring those skills. So your school community, the young people really well. They bring a particular skill set as well, and together you have everything you need, I suppose, to begin this journey. So that is my kind of overview of the application process and the application form, and what the process looks like over the next couple of months. Just to say as well, online services, it can seem a little scary sometimes, but even, Rebecca and I had a little technical glitch getting on this afternoon. We can always overcome it, kind of don't be put off if something happens, get in touch with us, and we'll do our best to help you with the application system if something goes wrong. What I might do now is stop recording, and then if any of you feel free to turn on your cameras, or if you'd like to ask us any questions at that point as well, you can put them into the chat, and we will figure them out.